Hello everyone, my name is Maya and I am introducing our group, the Fantastic Six. We are presenting the love story of Alma and Pedro. We are the Fantastic Six and our names are
Thung.
Jacqueline.
I'm Maya and
Jocelyn. Sorry.
so we separated our story into 5 different parts. We have part 1 in the beginning, part 2 love and war, part 3 fleeing, part 4 death and grieving, and lastly part 5 hope. So in the beginning, presented by me, Maya, we will talk about the background of how Alma and Pedro's love came to be. In the beginning, somewhere in the beautiful country of Colombia, two people who resided in a small village had joined their townspeople in participating in their village's Day of the Little Candle celebration. The celebration had the whole village bringing out candles to welcome out in the Christmas and winter season. The celebration was beautiful and allowed for everyone in the town to come closer together because of the culture that they shared. Through the celebration, we got a story of emotions, love, and grief. To begin, part 2 Love and War. We'll be discussing the romantic love between the young woman Alma and the young man Pedro and the 1,000-day war that struck the village of the young people. The three main points are the meeting at the day of the little candle celebration, how Alma and Pedro had 3 beautiful babies, and how the tragedy has struck the village at the end. Meeting at the town celebration, Alma and Pedro had seen each other around their town and it was a close community. However, on the special day of the little candles, their love blossomed and they had fallen in love with each other. The young couple moved fast and married less than a year later after they met, but they had plans to have kids and live a traditional happy life. Their love was beautiful, so beautiful in fact that it led to the birth of 3 young babies, their little triplets. Through this love, Alma and Pedro were blessed with Julieta, Pepa, and Bruno Madrigal. Julieta was the oldest and Bruno the youngest. The couple was happy and excited to start their new life together with their family. Unfortunately, through the couple's life was barely settling in, a conflict was about to lead them to a horrible fate. On the day of the triplets' birth, a tragedy called the 1,000-day war struck the village of the young couple, forcing them to choose either the safety of their newborn children or to fight. Of course, being a new family, they decided to flee and seek refuge somewhere in another town.
My name is Thung Pham. Uh, Today, I want to talk about the death of the Pedro and the grieving of his wife Alma. So my thesis is the Pedro death and the Alma uh, and good thing. So next, please. So there are 3 main points in my story. So the first one is that the Alma was confused for what Pedro was doing at first. Uh, Also, Alma did not want her husband Pedro to die right after her triplets were born. However, Alma's husband Pedro noticed that it would end badly for everyone if Pedro did not die right after the birth of her triplet. The second main one is talk about the death of the Pedro because the soldier uh, shoot him by gun. So next the third main one is talk about uh, the reaping of the Alma, and the Alma was sad, yelled and cried uh, when she saw Pedro die, and because all she wanted that the Pedro was still alive and was living with them. So next, please. First main one is talk about the Alma was confused for what Pedro was doing. However, Alma asked him to stop and think again. His unusual behavior when Alma noticed some strange activity of Pedro in the past. Moreover, uh, Alma did not wish her husband Pedro to die right after her triplets were born. In contrast, Pedro knew that it would end badly for everyone if he did not die right after the birth of her three babies. So next, the second main one, it talk about the Alma husband Pedro has given the group a chance to run away the war army by distracting the war soldiers. However, Pedro had rejected his existence and his life in the process. So next, uh, in the third main one, it talk about uh, looking at the barrel that were the disaster for the Alma, and also Alma was sad and injured. She yelled and she rise and she held her baby close because all she wanted was that the barrel was still living and were living with her and her three babies. So, in the review, my name is Tung Pham. My thesis is that the thesis, the death of the barrel and the riven of Alma. So, in conclusion, my story part talk about the barrel death and the riven of the Alma. So next, those slide talk is going to speak about the hope section of our story.
Thank you, Tung. So my name is Jocelyn Torres, and for my thesis that I'm gonna talk to you guys about is Dos Orujitas, which is two butterflies, and the love story of Alma and Pedro and their hope for a miracle. So for the three main points, in Encanto, the song Dos Orujitas showed the story of two caterpillars. They spent all the time together learning to work together. They battle the weather, fall apart, reunite, but they eventually find themselves cocooned and waiting afraid for a change. And this had similarities with Alma and Pedro when meeting together, and also making the perfect family with everyone. And but everything was getting in the way, and there was like a bunch of like changes happening through their own families. And for the second point, Alma and Pedro has symbolized the mariposas, meaning the butterflies, because they left their cocoon and it ended in a melancholic thought and hopeful note. They knew it was their time to fly apart and find their own future. And for the third point, this also represented the journey of Abuela, Alma Madrigal, and her tragic past with Pedro, but they didn't want to let go of each other and to basically fulfill their destinies. But it also showed a fear of change and showed the sad emotion of the whole relationship together. So for my first point, in Encanto, the song Dos Orujitas, it told the story of the two caterpillars that they basically spent all day and all night learning to hold each other and to focus on each other. And they also battled the weather and also to reunite. But eventually they find themselves cocooned and waiting afraid of change. This was similar to the way Alma was with Pedro and meeting together and also making that perfect family. But a lot of things were getting in the way and changing their lives, but they couldn't spread their wings. So for the second main point, Alma and Pedro has symbolized the mariposas, meaning the butterflies, because they left their cocoon and it ended on a melancholic thought and hopeful note. And also they knew that it was their time to fly and spread their wings basically and learn something new. And for the third main point, this also represented the journey of Abuela Alma and her tragic past with Pedro, but they realized they will need to leave in order to fulfill their new destinies. This also showed their fear of change and their sad emotion of their relationship together. And so my name is Jocelyn Torres, and I explained about the song in Encanto, and also the love story of Alma and Pedro and their love for their hope for a miracle. Sorry. In conclusion, the Encanto miracle or gift of magic that runs in the family came at a terrible price until they destroy themselves. So in conclusion, Maya will wrap up our presentation here.
Okay. Conclusion and hope. Because of Pedro's sacrifice and selflessness, his future family can enjoy their life and be blessed with the miracle that he had a hand in making. His kids and grandkids all have beautiful gifts, and a piece of Pedro's soul that is fused into the candle still lives among all of them. Pedro wasn't the only one who did something amazing for his family. Abuela Alma also raised 3 babies all on her own while grieving the loss of her previous family. She made a home for herself and raised a beautiful family in the process. In our darkest moment, we were given a miracle, said Abuela, and she ended up with a beautiful family in the end.